Hey, what's up? It's Jared with State of Tech, and here are the top 5 things that I changed right when I got my Samsung Galaxy S9. Now, the S9 is a great phone, arguably a little bit better than the S8, and it's just a great device. But there are things that Samsung does that they add to the phone that I'm not maybe a fan of, or things that I like to tweak just to kind of make it feel more like an experience that I would want the phone to have. Now, none of these things are huge drastic changes. They just kind of give me a better overall experience when using the phone. So the first thing that I do, and this isn't a setting, this is just kind of something I wanted to mention before I get into my top 5, is actually put an SD card in here. So with your SIM card, you can also put an SD card in. If you're here in the United States, the phone has 64 gigs of memory, and while that seems like a lot, it can fill up fast, especially if you're shooting photos and videos often. I recommend putting in an SD card. So the first thing that I do is actually change the launcher. Now, I don't mind the Samsung TouchWiz launcher these days because it's definitely less crazy than it used to be, where Samsung used to really heavily modify the way that Android looked and felt. Now it's kind of a little bit different. There are a couple different launchers that I have been playing with. I like the Lean launcher. The Lean launcher is an extremely simple launcher. Like its name, Lean, it basically takes away all of the kind of heavy things that a lot of launchers come with, and it's just a lean, easy to use launcher with simple settings. So basically, if you want to change your launcher, you have to install one first. So you would go into the Play Store and choose a launcher. Now, Nova Launcher is very popular. Nova Launcher has a lot of options. You can see here, it just switched over to Nova Launcher, and you can have like multiple rows in the dock here. I'm the kind of person that likes to have maybe more of a minimal experience on my phone, but I also like to have things easily accessible. And so I have like my main apps down here, and then if I swipe to the side in my dock, I can get a couple of additional ones. I also like having the Google search bar down there at the bottom. I like Google Assistant, and Google Assistant definitely over Bixby. I'm going to talk about how we should disable it later, but Google Assistant is definitely what I like, and so I have it set up so that a double tap will actually take me right in, and I can do a search. Now, of course, I do need to set my launcher by default. Let's go in and take a look at how to do that. So you go into Apps, and then you go to Default Apps, and then Home Screen, and then you can choose from one of your home screens. And you can see I've been kind of playing with a couple of different home screens here. If I wanted to set Nova Launcher, I would just do that and then tap on the home button. And now every time I'm here, you can see I have it so when I tap on the home button, it brings me up to App Search. If I swipe down, I get notifications. If I swipe up, I get my apps. I love that the apps can be scrolling straight up and down instead of side to side. I think it doesn't make sense to scroll up to get to your apps and then scroll side to side. Just one continuous motion makes it much easier. So Nova Launcher has a lot of customizations that I really like. Albeit it's not a perfect launcher, it is one of the most full-featured launchers I think that are out there. It has a lot of ways to customize. But Lean Launcher is also a really good one. I do like Lean Launcher. Very simple launcher, very clean, very basic, kind of reminiscent of the Pixel launcher, the way that I have it set up now. So Lean Launcher is definitely a good one. But changing the launcher just to customize it and kind of give it the look and feel that you want is excellent. I'm going to do another video on how to make your Samsung Galaxy S9 look more like a Pixel 2. I have a Pixel 2 XL and I do really like the phone. I like stock Android. I like that feel. So if you're considering kind of changing your phone experience more over to something of stock Android, definitely check out that video. So the next thing I do is change the camera settings. Now the camera comes standard set up with some basic settings. I like shooting the maximum that I can as far as photo size. So I change the rear camera photo size to the largest image that I can get. Same with video. I go and do UHD 60 frames per second. I like 60 frames per second because if I want to take the video file out of my phone and edit it in with some other footage and I want to do some slow-mo, I can do that. Of course, this phone does have that super fast 960 frames per second slow-mo, but it's really hard to use and it's kind of not too usable. I have some examples of that in my full review, and then I also have a camera review of this phone that I'm going to come out with soon. For those of you that are interested, just make sure you subscribe to our channel here. So other things that I change on the camera, I typically leave HDR set to auto. Some people say to turn it on, but in lower light situations where the shutter speed is slower, you end up getting blur with HDR. So I leave HDR set to auto. When it's nice and sunny out and those HDR photos are going to pop, or you have a really steady shot that you can get, then of course HDR is going to automatically enable anyways. For the front camera, I also go and increase the video size to QHD, so it's that quad HD size, a little bit bigger. Nothing else do I really change. I mean, I do make sure that location tags are turned on. I love when I can look at my photos by map, and without location tagging turned on, you're not going to be able to get that. Another thing too, if you like to be able to review a photo right after you take it, instead of having to tap on your gallery and go in there, you can turn that on. I also make sure that storage location is set to the SD card on my phone, so that way every photo and video that I take is being written to the SD card that I put in the phone rather than the internal storage, making sure that I keep the most storage that I have available on the phone. So those are the settings that I change in the camera. I think it gives me a much better experience and better quality images when I'm taking photos. Number 3 is that I go and disable Bixby. I'm not a huge fan of Bixby. Of course, now that I have my launcher changed, the swipe gesture to get to Bixby is gone, but I can still hit the Bixby button and get Bixby to show up. So I'm going to need to go into the settings, and here's Bixby key. I can go ahead and toggle that to turn off Bixby key. So now if I hit the Bixby button, I'm not getting any Bixby action at all. So the fourth thing that I do is go and customize the pull down settings. Of course, we've got our settings up here, and that's great and all, but I like to make this a little bit more usable for me. The first thing I do is move brightness to show control on top. Although auto brightness is great and all that stuff, it still needs to be adjusted from time to time, especially when I'm doing videos like this and I like my brightness to be higher. Or at nighttime when it still is too bright and I want to darken it a little bit. So now the brightness is going to show up here. I don't have to go and pull down another gesture. It's just one simple gesture to get me there. The next thing I do is customize these icons. There are some icons that I definitely need to customize and change, and then there are other ones that I like to just leave alone. So with that, we'll pull this all the way down. We'll go and change button grid, and I'll change button grid to 5x3. I like to have more available there so that I don't have to swipe. And then we can go and actually customize those buttons. So tap on the settings, go to button order, and now we can drag and move our buttons around. So I like Wi-Fi. I don't necessarily switch on and off between Wi-Fi calling, so I can move this one, maybe just pull it down here altogether. I'm often turning Bluetooth on and on, off and on. Sometimes I need to lock rotation. Airplane mode is useful. Flashlight's useful. Power saving. Mobile hotspot. Blue light filter. Let's see what's on the other page. Do not disturb. So let's remove some of these that I don't use very often. We're going to go ahead and I have this set to automatic, so I don't need that. What do we still have over here? Dolby Atmos. I don't need to be able to change and customize this one. So now I'm just kind of moving these around. I have them all to one page, so that's kind of nice. Let's see how that looks. So now when I pull this down and pull it down all the way, I have all of my icons right there. Maybe I can go and play with the ordering a little bit more, and maybe you might want to customize them to an ordering that makes the most sense for you. For me, I just want to make sure that I have the icons available that I need, and I can get rid of the ones that I don't need. So customizing that definitely makes your experience a little bit better because you're not swiping or having to go into settings for things that have a quick launch icon. So the fifth thing that I end up disabling is the edge panel. Now the edge panel is loved by some and hated by, I don't know, hated by me. I like it to an extent. I think it's useful, but for me, it just ends up kind of getting in the way, and I end up swiping it out on accident, especially if I'm using the phone without a case. Now, I like the minimal look, as I mentioned earlier. I don't like having a ton of icons and stuff all over my screen. So sometimes this would be maybe useful, having Apps Edge or People Edge and stuff like that, because I can quickly get to them. But that's just more software and more stuff running in the background, and I like to have a more minimal approach. So if you want to swipe from the side, you can go into Settings, and you can actually turn off edge panels and get rid of that altogether. Now there's no edge panel at all, and we're done. So it's very simple to turn that off. Of course, if you want to keep it on, you can go in and customize the edge panel to have different panels. Samsung's definitely adding more functionality to that. But for me, I just like to turn it off. I prefer just to use the functionality that comes in some of these additional launchers, like for example, being able to kind of swipe up and get to my apps, tap on the home button and go straight into a search. I just prefer doing that because it keeps things clean and out of the way, and that's the experience that I prefer. So let me know what settings you change on your S9 down in the comment section below. These are just some of the things that I changed automatically because I do like the Samsung phone. I like what Samsung has done and changed over the years with their phones, but I still just like to customize it to work the way that I want it to work. So let me know how you customize your phone down in the comment section. Is there something cool that you do that just makes the phone much easier to use or more of a productivity tool? I'd love to learn from you as well, so share that down in the comment section. I've got links to some of the launchers and other things that I've used in this video down in the description, so make sure to click on that. And if you want to see more Samsung S9, S9 Plus videos, make sure to subscribe to our channel here on State of Tech and check out stateoftech.net where we have even more resources for you. Thanks a lot and hope to see you back here soon.